question that I had from Rohan was, I want to start a community on Reddit. And Rohan is one of the go-to guys if you want to learn something about Reddit. So I texted him, and these are some questions that I came up with. And let's see what Rohan has to say. You talk a lot about building communities. You influence people by creating communities. That's how you have built most of your brands and helped your clients as well. So, can you talk about building communities
Yeah,
and
sure.
then
So
on Reddit?
I started as a blogger, right? And for blogging, you had to promote your content. And that's the only reason I had created my Facebook and all other social profiles. But with years, I realized that all social platforms are eventually going to cut your reach. So, what is the point of growing your followers? So, I had about 300,000 followers across platforms. So, LinkedIn,
Okay.
Twitter, Instagram, everywhere else. And I realized that, okay, I have so many followers, but they are of no use if platforms are not going to work, right? So, for example, me having 100,000 followers on Twitter doesn't make sense. Instead of trying to focus on growing followers, our focus really should be to grow communities. And then I started this community back in 2015. It was called Invincible Winners. And then I took that word and started creating like sub communities out of it. So if I have to start a product community, I would call it Invincible Product Hunters. So I took the word and started creating sub communities out of it. And then started creating groups on Discord, Telegram, WhatsApp, Reddit, Facebook, everywhere else. And that made me realize the things that get spoken about in communities have a greater recall versus what you talk on social media. So if I'm tweeting something or if I'm posting something on Facebook or LinkedIn, people are going to likely read and forget.
Mhm.
If a discussion happened on WhatsApp, that kind of gets engraved in your memory, and then people would remember, oh, we had a discussion about this and you had said this, so I thought, okay, this is a better way to communicate. And what people remember, they end up going and sharing on social media as well. So a lot of our
Mhm.
discussions get copied and then posted on LinkedIn, or they would get inspired from the discussion and post our opinions and thoughts on LinkedIn, Reddit, and other places. So I thought that, okay, communities are also a tool to essentially control opinions in a way for brands. Taking an example of a client, they were into email verification. They had a tool for email verification. They created a community of outbound marketing. And because they were sharing about how to do email marketing, you would naturally require a verification tool. And because in this community they had repeatedly mentioned their product name, everybody would just go and recommend the same everywhere else. So it's more of like it plays into their psychology, and just the recall value is high because they are part of the community. They have learned so much, the brand is repeated so many times that now they can only think of this particular tool in this category. So that's
Mhm.
how I found communities very impactful. And then from there on, I started building communities for other people, other brands in SaaS space, Web3, social media, even personal brands, and interest-based community. I also run spiritual groups. I've like built communities of everything. And then I stumbled across Reddit during the pandemic, and I realized
Mhm.
that, okay, I've been doing community building for a long time, but this is the only platform which has community for everything. So if you had to search for something on YouTube, there might be a group, but most of the Facebook groups are either dead or there is
Yeah.
so much spam that there's no quality control. Where are we going to host communities then? So Reddit was the only platform I found that was dedicated just for communities, and it had all kinds of communities from business or just any interest based communities. Like if I had interest of photography, there is a photography related group, and there are moderators of that group that will control the quality. If there is marketing, startup, or business related group, we would have group moderators to control the quality there as well. Reddit is the only place where I can find quality communities with proper moderation and people really engaging in these communities and having shared interests. That's how I got into community building and then eventually into Reddit, because it was kind of like a place to be for community builders.
So yeah, Rohan, thank you for explaining communities. Something about this name, the Invincible. So I see that every group that you have created, or most of the groups that you have created, are named Invincibles. And you're a very shy, a very quiet person, but I sense warrior mentality in you. So what's with this name Invincible?
Since the time I was in college, I would speak to just one or two friends, and I would create groups just to exchange notes and homework and everything else. And we would call this group Invincible Winners. Invincible, the literal meaning is one who is undefeatable, right? When I started to create these professional groups as well, I wanted to make it empowering so that when we call each other with the group name, every member should feel empowered. So I'm invincible. So, and we would keep repeating the message that together we are invincible.
Yes.
So as long as the community is together, we are invincible. That's how, like, we continued using the name for 7 years, and it's still ongoing.
You're not a traditional influencer on the internet. In your niche, you're one of the most influential people. So would you like to talk about what some tactics?
When I started blogging, I saw that, okay, there are a lot of digital marketers, and how do I differentiate? And that's how I got into growth hacking, right? But then growth hacking was not a very popular word. So I thought, okay, this could be my niche. There is this concept of 1,000 true fans. You don't really need 1 million people to know you, especially in the business context. Just our prospects need to know about us and what we do, right? So just having like 1,000 people really knowing you and what you do can be powerful in a way that it would have consistent business, you would have enough support, and it may give an impression or perception that you're quite known in your niche. So that's number one. The second is, if you are the biggest community owner in your space, I run the largest growth hacking community, and through that I have noticed if I can create this big community of growth hackers, so probably people might eventually get to know me. And the third one is, what's happening on groups are more recollectible and memorable versus what's happening on social. Discussions on community more engaging versus just passively consuming content on social. People would take things from community and share it everywhere else, and they might end up crediting you, and that's how it would grow your influence as well. So some of the community resources that we shared 1 year ago, they still get me leads until today. It just got distributed because of word of mouth and we sharing it everywhere.
You run the largest growth community. Would you like to talk about this, acquiring this community?
I inherited it from Ryan Holiday. The reason I say I inherited it, because Ryan Holiday ran it for 9 years.
And I have been reading his books since 2017, 2018.
Wow.
Trust me, I'm lying. He has been very influential in building my own career. So yeah, please continue.
That's awesome. He was running this community for 9 years and joined this Reddit group. Since I was a blogger, I was always part of communities, so I kind of knew, what's acceptable in communities and what is not. So I found a few things that are not acceptable, and I reported it to mods that this should not be happening and we should change it. And they were like, oh, do you want to do this? And I was like, okay, sure. And that's how I got access to it. And then I reached out to Ryan, one of the moderators, and I asked him, is this real Ryan Holiday, or is this someone pretending to be Ryan Holiday? He said, I'm real Ryan Holiday. And I was like, okay. So I would accept it as I got access to Ryan's community. He had grown about, on an average, 1,000 people per year. And in the last 2 years, we have got that community from 13,000 members to 32,000 members in 2 years. It did require a little bit of promotion and push marketing. I was creating resources and sharing it on WhatsApp and Facebook, and then those resources were pointing back to my subreddit. I was inviting authors like Nee Real and others to do AMA with the community, Some engineers from Pinterest did an AMA with our community, so that was also getting more members. Then I partnered with other subreddits to essentially link to each other on us on the sidebar so that our members could find our communities. And lastly, I was also having this network of communities across Discord, Telegram, WhatsApp and Facebook. So from everywhere people were joining this Reddit community. And then I was doing some events in which I would mention about Reddit marketing, and then people would want to see my community, so they would join. And then some of the brands like Instamojo and others, whenever they would interview me in their podcast or anywhere else, I would mention I'm the moderator of this community and you should join, and it would again promote the subreddit, right? So all in all, I kept mentioning it and it kept growing. And additionally, there was this one tool I used it to identify people who are already talking about startups, marketing, etc. And we reached out to them sharing that, hey, we are the most active startup growth marketing community and you will want to join us. We tested different copies and messaging, and that kind of helped get initial traction. So we were able to get it from 13,000 members to 32,000 members, and I can't wait to see 50,000 members there. But really, it's not about numbers, but the influence that it has. When I took it over from Ryan Holiday, it was a lot of spam and promotional posts. Now that I am here, I ensure that every post is meaningful and valuable. We have grown our page views to 40,000 per month, and it's high quality traffic. So I get messages from people working at Pinterest, Clubhouse, Meta, and Quora. And these are all people who are anonymously operating Reddit, and you can't even know that, okay, these employees and marketers are from big companies and they are watching you, they are a part of our community, they are sharing content there. It would be quite bragworthy if the same people were on Facebook, or because you could see who they are, where they are working at. But with Reddit, you can't really find because most of them are anonymous. But that doesn't discount us from knowing that this group is really of high value people. There was this resource, people were requesting access to it, and some of the email IDs were from AppSumo, and AppSumo once reached out to us just asking, how did you create this resource? How did you create this lead magnet? And then they mentioned us in one of their blog posts, and I would never imagine a company like AppSumo or Noah Kagan talking about us. And similarly, there are many mentions of the growth hacking community of Reddit in several courses and so many other places that I can't even count because they keep happening organically. As a moderator, I'm still anonymous, like nobody knows it's really my community unless I come on a video and talk about it like this. I'm really enjoying doing the thankless work, but it's very fulfilling.
That was also one of my questions. Primarily, we have two major platforms to build communities, Facebook and Reddit. On Facebook, you can actually look at people, verify them. How do you run a community on Reddit where people are anonymous? What's the difference?
You can build communities on messenger platforms like WhatsApp, Discord, and Telegram and others. There are social media platforms like Facebook and Reddit. There are custom community platforms like Circle and School.com where you can start your own community. These are different community platforms. Talking about just specifically Reddit, of how you would know who is a part of the community and how you would see what's the quality of the group. You can't. Some of the people will actually have their doxed personality. That means they would show who they are and they would have their names on Reddit as well. But most of them do not have it because they all use usernames. But now Reddit is transitioning towards creators, and it now allows you to add as many URLs, your social profile, your website and everything else. And I'm sure there are plans to also have creators on Reddit and create more, content. But that hasn't been a focus. The focus is more on the community side, and I would judge communities based on the quality of discussions they are having. We control the quality of content very early on and don't let anyone troll anyone, and that's how we build that culture in that specific subreddit. I think our community has been very supportive over Reddit.
So if someone says, I want to create a Reddit group, and monetize it. Please take me through it.
So this is the thing with Reddit. You can't really monetize Reddit. It's not allowed. It's against the rules. Facebook would allow group admins to charge subscriptions for membership. All other platforms would allow. Reddit is far more different. You can't monetize your groups. You can't monetize your subreddits. You can't monetize your community. You can't do anything. You can't even put affiliate links in certain subreddits, and it's seen as spam and promotional, and it might get removed, right? So Reddit is very subtle platform. You can't be promotional at all. How I have revenues generating from Reddit is, number one, promoting really good high quality resources that builds some list, and some people might come from it, but that's not really the intention. It's just good list building and community building. Second,
Okay.
we would drive some of the traffic from Reddit to our messenger groups like Telegram or Discord or WhatsApp, and there we would have, certain people, like good quality people who are funneled through the subreddit and now a part of our messenger group. The third one is, sometimes people would post some requirements and you can always reach out to them. I personally have not done it, but I do see there was this one content marketer, a part of our community, and he was reporting to us that a lot of people share content requirements on specific subreddits for writers. He reached out to a few employers and he was able to get a lot of projects. So that's how people also, monetize Reddit. Another way is that you can build communities for brands, and then essentially brands could keep in touch with their own community and promote their own brand. What I'm trying to say is that there's no direct way to monetize Reddit account. It's more of like promotions in a way that's very indirect and subtle, unlike any other platform.
Will you agree if I say that Reddit is the closest platform to Web3's ideology?
Yes, I was working with the founder of the largest subreddit on Reddit, and it was essentially for his Web3 project. And I think Reddit has now also is experimenting with NFT profile cars and stuff like that, and it seems to be doing great, right? So I think places like Telegram, Discord, Reddit are by default meant for Web3, I feel. Like they are far ahead of what Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn can do.
We have talked about monetizing, like you cannot monetize your Reddit subreddit directly. Can people charge money for promoting something in their subreddits like Facebook?
You can promote anything, right? Not just services, but also products. So let's say if you are an app,
Yeah.
or if you're a physical product, you can still promote it as long as you have a story to tell, you have something interesting to share, right? That's the key. The second thing is, there are also good Reddit products which you can use to do some certain level of outreach. So let's say if I can find people who were talking about meditation in the last, let's say, 30 days, who were asking questions about a meditation app, I could go to those threads and essentially comment about, let's say if I have a meditation app, I can say, oh, I built this because I saw that there was some shortcoming in other meditation apps and you should try mine, right? So this is more of like content marketing, where think of it like Quora marketing. There would be question answers, right? So it's like doing the same on Reddit. That's number one way. The second way is you can start a branded subreddit, right? So that's what we have already discussed. And the third is you can find all the people who were talking about a specific thing. Let's say if I have a software or SaaS product for lead generation, and I search for the term lead generation and find everyone who are talking about lead generation, and then reach out to them and say, I saw you were talking about this on this subreddit, and here's what I have built which can help you. You can essentially find people through social listening and then qualify if they are really the right prospect or not using sentiment analysis, and then send out a message to them. So there are two ways to message people on Reddit. One is by using Reddit's mail. We call them private messages. And then the second is, it's like a Facebook Messenger chat box where you can like directly chat with people. So there are two ways you can reach out to people if you really have to. Services, software products, physical products, in consulting, all kinds of apps, everything can be promoted on Reddit. It's like it's upon your imagination of how you would want to promote it. And also you have like the ultimate way to promote, it's just running ads, right? So I feel as a summary, if I have to say what are the avenues for promotion on Reddit, it's I think actually 4 or 5. Let's try to count. Number one is of course the direct content marketing, right? The second one is like you can post stories and case studies and use cases on Reddit as a post. The second is just answering questions based on different stories or questions that are already posed, right? So you can go to the comment section and put your thoughts and essentially have your plug there. The third one is reaching out to people based on social listening and sentiment analysis. The fourth one is running ads. And a fifth, I would say, building your own community and then having that dedicated community to talk about your solution. So these are the 5 ways I think Reddit marketing is possible.
Would you like to get into details of how do you grow your subreddit?
Yeah, for my own community, if I have to summarize all strategies, right, it would be number one, sharing really high quality posts and allowing only high quality posts to surface on the Reddit subreddit so that people come back reading it and following the subreddit. There should be no spam and self promotion. The second is we do allow self promotion, but only to the members who have earned enough karma points. So there are 2 types of karma on Reddit. One is your overall profile karma, and the second is community karma. So overall profile karma is the cumulative of all the community karma, and community karma is the number of karma points you have earned in a specific community. So if in my community you make 100 karma points, then we allow self promotion. But we would not allow self promotion if someone has 0 karma points and they want to still promote themselves. That's not allowed. So that's where we draw the line between self promotion and then doing self promotion after earning enough trust from the community. Good content, drawing lines between self promotion and not. And then the third one is having AMAs. You could invite people who are relevant to that particular niche and then conduct AMAs with them. We do it with authors and growth marketers and growth engineers and people like that because it's relevant for growth hacking. For someone else, it could be different guests. The fourth one would be sharing valuable resources and then those resources pointing back to your subreddit. So I created a checklist of 100 content distribution websites and then it had a link back to our subreddit. So people, started joining. Fourth is I was promoting it through all my podcast interviews. So that was in another way. And then I was mentioning it in my bio everywhere on social and other places. So blogs and other places wherever I was writing. So that's another way. The seventh one was actually using social listening and sentiment analysis to reach out to people who were already talking about startup marketing, digital marketing, and then sharing with them about growth hacking and inviting them to our community. Apart from that, partnerships. So I reached out to similar communities and asked them to put us on the sidebar. So I was linking to their community and they were linking to mine because people who are interested in growth hacking would also be interested in SaaS, SEO, content marketing. Similarly, people who are interested in SaaS would also be interested in growth marketing. So that's how we interlinked. These are some 7-8 ways to grow your community on Reddit.
How can someone outreach? How should you approach them that you don't sound desperate? What's the right way to approach?
I'm assuming this is specific for Reddit. Unlike LinkedIn, on LinkedIn you would reach out to people based on who they are, their titles and everything else, right? On Reddit you can't really see people. So that's an advantage as well as disadvantage. The disadvantage is you don't really know who you are reaching out to. It could be a qualified prospect or not. You don't 100% know, but you would have a signal based on what they are talking or asking, right?
Yeah.
The advantage is that the prospect can't see you. And a lot of times we would judge profiles from how they look on Twitter and LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
But on Reddit, there's no judgment. Everybody looks the same. So it's more of the quality of conversations on your profile, right?
Mhm.
And I think if there is any value left on social media, it's in Reddit, because this is not where people are just famous because they created a 30-second video. They
Or
might be famous because they actually had deep conversations.
or they are famous just because they are famous.
Reddit is not that place. Because you're reaching out to them based on social listening, that means you're only reaching out to them because they actually need you. Let's say someone is really asking for protein supplements, let's say,
Mhm.
and you're only reaching out to people sharing about your protein product, right? So it's still relevant because that's what they were asking or discussing, right? So I would say something like, hey, whatever their Reddit name is, you can personalize and then say, I saw you were discussing protein supplements in this subreddit. I was curious to know what are you currently consuming, and maybe they would respond back saying what they are currently consuming. Say they were asking for protein bars, and then they would respond back, and then I would say, oh, our company creates this protein bar, and this is the reason we started, or whatever your reasoning is, and how they are a little better than what they are currently consuming. And do you want like a free trial protein bar? If you can just sign up to our website, pay $1 and maybe your shipping address, and we'll send it to you. And then probably you ship them, and then they like it, and then they become your long-term customers, right? So these conversations, I think, are more valuable on Reddit because they are purely based on what they are already talking, and it's not based on, okay, you're a founder and you are in Silicon Valley, so I think that you may have money to hire me, and that's why I would reach out to you. That's not the case.
Yeah. I mean the most general approach
Yeah.
on social media. I've got the clarity. But if there's something that you think that I have missed, yeah, please do share.
I think Reddit, I think this is the point that we haven't covered, that Reddit is a good research tool as well. So if I'm going to build a product, or if I'm going to write a blog post, or if I'm going to write just a social media post, or I'm going to gather opinion about a particular topic or something, right? It's far more easier to get people's sentiment on Reddit because you can just read the discussions and know what people really think, right? And these are all anonymous people, so they are not
That's why they're
afraid.
brutally honest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They are unfiltered, right? So this is what people really think. That's what Reddit is. Of course, half of it is troll, but there is the other half that's genuine. I think it's a good research tool. And apart from being a research tool, it could also be a good tool to just explore your own interests. Like it doesn't always have to be business. It could be your personal interest. Maybe you are into fitness or like anything in your life. There are fitness communities on Reddit which say it's for people who are under 30. Then there is some other community for under 40 and then 50. I feel you may get bored of LinkedIn someday because say you got retired and there's no reason to use LinkedIn, or people stopped using Facebook because Instagram took over. People then stopped browsing Instagram feed and they only started watching stories, and then now if they're bored of that as well, they might move to some other platform, right? But Reddit is the only platform where over the course of your life you would never want to leave Reddit because your interests would keep changing as a person, but there would always be a community for your interests. So I had a friend who was a lot into photography and cars. He found communities there. Then he was also a SEO person, so he found an SEO community there. And then he wanted to, he got into fitness after he was like 30 plus, and then there was a fitness community there for people who are under 40. So just observing his life, I realized that okay, people would keep evolving, but the interest in communities on Reddit would always stay.
Yeah, people always want to stay in a tribe.
Yes.
So they'll keep on finding different tribes.
Yes.
Yeah, and
interestingly, sorry, go on and make that point.
No,
please.
please.
No, please go on.
No, I was just expanding on the same point that it is human nature.
Absolutely.
Like we have been, like Seth Godin has
Yes.
described it like perfectly, that we want to live in a tribe. So Reddit is the perfect place. And I actually found about Reddit because of a documentary.
What was
Uh,
that?
I saw a documentary in 2015, I guess, 2015 or 14. It was about Aaron Schwartz, one of the co-founders of Reddit. He
Oh,
was he was also like a big time hacktivist, because at that point of time I was a teenager, and teenage mind is always rebellious. So I was a lot into like, okay, what's anonymous, this hacker group, and what's this, what's that. So I came across Aaron Schwartz documentary. There are a lot of conspiracy theories around him, that he was killed by this agency or that agency, because he was found dead in his room, and he was just like less than 30, and people used to call him underground Zuckerberg. Like he was also a child prodigy. He had been developing or coding things since he was like 10 or 11 years old. So he was at that level of genius of Zuckerberg. People used to compare them both, but he was more into like social reforms and all these things. So that's how I first time heard about Reddit.
that seems like my kind of person. I
Yeah,
definitely watched that documentary. I was unaware. Thank you
Dude.
so much for letting me know. We should probably put a link to that, maybe in the description of this video. And what I was trying to say is, Reddit is the only social media platform which has not peaked yet in like growth terms. So, for example,
Yeah,
there was a point when Clubhouse was at peak during pandemic, right? And then
and yeah,
after that everyone left. Now I don't know what Clubhouse does, but it's running. So that was its peak, right? Then Facebook had a peak, and every other platform had a peak. Reddit is the only platform that has seen year on year growth, and there's still no peak. So I feel Reddit is like built for future, or maybe
I
it is the future.
also what I think is, if a platform remains underdog, that's the best way for any company to run.
This was a wonderful chat. We almost covered from marketing to personal interest to lives of the
Pop
Reddit
culture.
founders, everything. And I think this is a good educational video for people who have not been on Reddit, or even if they have been on Reddit. Thank you so much for coming up with these questions and having me. Uh,
Thank you so much, for this opportunity, turning my one question into a whole podcast. Thank you so much, Ron.
Thank you.
Thank you.